it's a pleasure to talk to you about this film. As I
Thank
said, being such a fan of the first one, it must have been daunting for you to tackle something that is so iconic to their audience and make it your own.
Yeah, I had a good experience with Marvel. And the comic book fans
Yeah.
aren't that different than the Disney fans, where they grew up with these things. I guess the Disney fans, you grew up from a younger age, and I think the emotional connection runs deeper. Certainly for me it does.
Yeah.
I grew up with this movie. I was born in '66. This came out in '67. I don't even remember the first time I saw it. But when I was hired, I knew all the songs. I knew all the moments. So I must have seen it many times over the course of my childhood and adult life. And I wanted to make sure that I honored that film, but I knew that doing it in a photoreal way where the animals look like they're alive, it's going to change the tone. You can't just do that kids musical with real animals. It just would feel strange.
Yeah.
And so we went to something that was a little bit more of a family adventure film rather than a kids musical. And so there were some inherent changes.
No, absolutely. And it does kind of pay tribute to the animation film, but you kind of created a completely different world. And it's the understatement of the year to say that technology helps you in those kinds of visuals.
I really wanted to see what I could get out of the technology. I was so impressed with Gravity, for example.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to see, if you described Gravity to me, it was not a movie I would have gone to see in a theater. But then when I heard how revelatory the use of this technology was and how the filmmaker made it such an immersive experience, it was I think it was my favorite movie that year. It was I saw it with my kid in IMAX in 3D, and I was sweating the whole time, and I was like, this is what you go to the movie theater for. Because I don't go to the movie theater a lot. I go to the movie theater when I have to go to the movie theater. If there's a movie that I have to see on the big screen, I'll go. But I'm going to see, there's good TV at home. If I wait a few months, I could see the movies at home. I have a nice system, and I don't have to leave my house. And so I think we're living in an age where you got to do something special that people they know they're missing out if they don't see this thing in 3D on a big screen. And so that informed the entire creative process. How do you use the 3D? The first time I saw 3D done really well was Avatar.
Yes.
And I was like, when it's on at home, it's a whole different experience. I was like, how do they do this? And I work with Rob Legato, who's a visual effects supervisor, and Joyce Cox, and Andy Jones, who's the animation supervisor who worked on that film. I was like, how'd you do it? And Jim Cameron even came by the set. We used a lot of the same equipment. We filmed it knowing it was going to be in 3D. We shot it natively in 3D. We didn't convert. And we also created a completely digital world like Avatar did. And that was one of the things that Disney said to me, because I didn't see the opportunity in Jungle Book. I didn't know what I was going to do. And they said, look at Life of Pi, look at Avatar.
It's part of the narrative, really.
It is. And if you could create an entire world, you could do things like change the scale of the animals, change the scale of the jungle, make it very visually arresting, and create this great fairy tale that looks like it's photoreal, but it still feels dreamlike. And so you start to see the movie through the eyes of this boy, and he's at the center of it, and you start to be able to play with things you don't get to play with in a regular film, like the weather, like the lighting, like the trees and the environment. And so as a filmmaker who's been doing this for 20 years, I felt like there was a whole new thing opening up to me that inspired me. And so I think we took full advantage of the technology here and helped make an emotional story that feels naturalistic, like you're in nature. And honestly, to be using these powerful tools to not do things like showing fights and explosions and superheroes, you don't get that opportunity a lot. So I really embrace the uniqueness of this opportunity.
Yeah, it's real storytelling and it's real creation of characters based on voice talent. So how much were the actors present on set or not at all? And
they weren't.
Either answer is impressive to me.
Yes, they weren't on set, but I wanted to make sure that their performance was captured in the performance of the animals and in the boys' performance. And so what we did was, before we ever started anything on set, I would take the actor Neil Setti, who plays Mowgli, to record with each actor. And any actor that was working together, I would have them record together. And I would video them or get capture data and give all of that data to the animators so that the performance that they were doing live in a room like this, that those facial expressions, those eye contact patterns would all be worked into the performance of the animation.
How did you intuitively know that Idris Elba would be so perfect for Shere Khan, that Sir Ben Kingsley would be so perfect for Bagheera, Christopher Walken, impressive?
That's my talent.
It's your talent.
That's the one thing I can take credit for, is that I have very good taste in recognizing talent in other people and being supportive of that, and knowing who's right for a role and who's right to be a cameraman and who's right to be a visual effects supervisor. I respect and appreciate when others can do things. And having been an actor and writing and being a director, I know how hard those things are. And so when I recognize it and it all fits together, it's like a chef picking out ingredients. Like I could walk through the market and I know the best ingredients. And any chef will tell you that's when the dish is made, is if you pick the right things. And by picking the right cast, as always with my films, any success I've had is at its root a casting decision that's gone well.
When the responsibility of a film lies on the understanding of such a young actor of the story, how closely do you work with them?
Very closely. That's and honestly, because there were no other actors on set, the work that was done with the voice performers was all done in pre-production or in separate recording sessions concurrently. When I was on the set, it was me and Neil, and sometimes it was me and Neil just like this, because I knew I was going to get painted out. So if he's talking to Baloo, it would either be me or another actor. And the other trick was we had puppeteers, and the puppeteers also sparked the kid to life. The whole thing was to keep him engaged, and there was enough challenges and tasks and physical activity that each scene offered a new set of challenges, and so this smart young man was always engaged, and whenever he was engaged, you'd see the light go on behind his eyes. And that's, I think, honestly what anchors this film that's really completely digital except for the kid. The jungle's digital, the animals are digital. It's that human performance at its core that anchors everything and makes it all feel real and come together.
What made you know immediately that it was him? I mean, obviously he looks like what we know of Mowgli.
He looks like Mowgli.
But it was not. It was not enough. The
that's not enough.
physicality is
No,
not enough.
you got. I knew it was going to be one-on-one. I knew I was going to be able to mentor him as we went. So I wasn't looking for somebody who was really polished. It's not like somebody doing a bit part in a stage play where they have to hit their marks and know their lines all the time. I knew I needed moments. He didn't have to hit it every time, but I knew that he had to be capable of special things. And there was something about watching him, and we had taped 2,000 kids from all around the world. And he had never auditioned before, acted before, but there was something about seeing him on camera that lit up the screen. He was a smart kid. He was very confident. He was not intimidated by the notion of being in a movie or meeting a director or going on tape. And Mowgli had that kind of confidence. So I thought that was a good thing, because you're around all these big animals. You want this little kid to fit right in and feel like just one of the gang. That was part of the fantasy when I saw the original film, was that this kid didn't just live here, but he wasn't afraid to fight walk with the elephants or box with the bear. You know, he was tough. And I think even in the old one, he says, I'm a lot tougher than people think. And this kid felt that way. And I knew that there were certain things I couldn't teach, like those qualities. And there were things I could teach, like how to be an actor, how to be on a film set, what the discipline is of preparation. And I met his family. He had a solid family, because without a good foundation, this could be a very disruptive force in a young person's life. You don't want to throw their life off. You want to make sure this is something you're giving them, a gift and not a punishment, because this isn't for everybody, especially for a young actor. It's even harder than for an adult. And I felt comfortable that they knew what they were in for. They were up for the challenge, and it's been a great experience.
Absolutely. When I was watching the film, I remembered how timeless all those Rudyard Kipling themes are. It's incredible how much they resonate in this day and age. The sense of family, the sense of clan, the strategies, the good and evil, or the silver linings.
Sure, and not being afraid to update those themes for our moment, because this is a story that's been told 50 years ago by Walt Disney and 100 years ago by Rudyard Kipling. And you could go further back. If you look at the myths, these myths endure in many cultures. Romulus and Remus was, the story of the feral children raised by a she-wolf. There's even aspects, I was thinking just this morning, about the exile from the Garden of Eden. There's a sense of the man eating from the tree of knowledge and being cast out of the garden, and only to try to spiritually return. So these are themes that go way back, and so they're strong. They're strong themes, and you just have to stick to the nuts and bolts of those story arcs. And on top of that, you could put the humor, the comedy, the visual effects,
the music,
the songs, right? All of those things fit in, but you need the spine of a strong story that's timeless. And the filmmakers that I most look up to, people like George Lucas, that's what he did with Star Wars. Those are very old stories that predate. For my father's generation, they did them as adventure films, and they go further and further back into the oldest traditions of storytelling, the princess being saved, the empire, oppressing the rebellion, and so, but he did it with all this high tech, this high tech visual effects, and Disney did it too. He took the old fairy tales and the folklores, and he used the high tech visual effects of his day, cell animation, rotoscope, multiplane camera work, audio animatronics in Disneyland, and it seems to be that combo of low-tech story and high-tech storytelling, that when you marry those two, something really special happens. Avatar, I would say, also fits that category. And so I tried to uphold that tradition, and I use the magic formula. We'll see how it works.
Finally, bare necessities. I was like a kid in a canister in the film anyway, but how excited were you to bring those classics and sing them on set?
I was excited. I was nervous too, because it doesn't necessarily logically fit into a photoreal movie like this, but I felt that if we got the audience, and then on top of it we could put in the song, you're going to get such a swelling, a wash of nostalgia. If you're close to my age, you've grown up with this. You've heard this song since you were little, and to have Bill Murray singing it, which is who's in our American cast, and Christopher Walken singing "I Want to Be Like You," there's something that adds another little style point on top of it. We couldn't put too much music in because it would become a musical, but I think we get away with what we did with maintaining the tone. I think the benefit of having those songs in for people who are old Disney fans, the benefit of it outweighs the risk of incorporating music into a film of this tone.